Welcome to the Attractions Group Podcast, episode number 95, alongside Ryan Sir. I'm Don Helbig. Ryan, how you doing?
I'm doing very well today. It was pleasantly cool. We had a couple hot, coming into summer days, and then last night going into today was a lot cooler. And we had some exciting things that were going on at Kings Island over the weekend. A lot of shows opening and stuff, so that was very exciting. But yeah, hey, before we go into this episode, let me remind everybody that you can catch us on all your favorite podcast apps, Apple, Google, Spotify, you know the drill. And make sure that you watch the YouTube version. And if you're watching the YouTube version, very good. Hit that subscribe button down there somewhere. And make sure you follow us on X or Twitter or whatever you want to call it nowadays at attractions_GRP.
So, Ryan,
Don,
what do we have for this episode?
Don, we have a special guest today, and it's a returning guest, but they're here with some kind of cool information because we have Wes Ramey from Dollywood in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee, which is everybody's favorite park. I'm just going to say that. So he's joining us to talk about the new Dolly Parton experience that opened just a couple days ago with all sorts of new interactive exhibits and just everything that you want to know about Dolly, but we're afraid to ask. So without further ado, let me bring to the stage Wes Ramey, the PR director for Dollywood Parks and Resorts. Welcome.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Welcome back.
I appreciate it. I must be doing something right if you asked me back. So that's exciting.
This is the direct to DVD episode. It's the secret.
Oh well.
Yeah, so Wes, I had a chance to experience the new Dolly Parton experience. Simply incredible. Can you tell us about the inspiration behind completely transforming the Adventures and Imagination area to create this new attraction?
Yeah, so Dolly even said it herself. We needed to kind of redo that area. The museum itself had been a part of the park for a number of years, but as guests, had seen that, she wanted to be able to give them something new. So she said, instead of giving it a nip and tuck, we gave it a whole facelift. We completely redid the Adventures and Imagination area. We took the old Chasing Rainbows Museum all the way back to the studs, basically, and redid the interior of that building. Same thing with the Dolly's Closet shop that was there. Took that back to the studs and created the behind the scenes experience and just did a lot of freshening up in the area, new landscaping, new concrete work throughout the area. So with all of that combined, it really does feel like a completely brand new area, even though it's an existing area with existing buildings. I think in a lot of ways you can consider it brand new. But the inspiration behind that was Dolly herself. We wanted to make sure we were doing her proud and giving folks something that when they come to the park, so many of them do want to learn more about Dolly. So being able to redo this area gave us an opportunity to tell her story in a new way, to take advantage of new technologies, and to really make it an immersive experience as guests come through that will obviously, as you experienced, be something completely different than was in that area before.
Wes, I told you before we started recording that I loved the old Dolly Parton experience. The new one's only been open for, a week or so as of this recording, so haven't made it down there yet, but the online chatter says that it's incredible. How did it feel to have such a positive reaction to this new attraction, especially that since there isn't like a roller coaster or ride involved?
Well, Dolly Parton is probably, I think if you went around the world and asked everybody who is one person that they love, I think one of the universal answers would be Dolly Parton. So we want to make sure that we tell her story in a complete way and that folks really do understand the path that she took from Sevier County to stages all around the world. So when you're working with someone like that and someone who is so beloved, you want to make sure that you get the project correct. And there was a lot of effort from a number of people across a number of disciplines within the park and within the company, making sure that experience was going to live up to what we want Dolly's experience to be. She's always so gracious and just an amazing person to work with, but we wanted to be able to provide something that really honored her and folks could come in and that we could be proud of, that she would be proud of when they came in. And I think to be able to see the reaction from folks shows that we did what we were setting out to do. And honestly, Dolly's reaction to it was just as exciting to see, that it meant so much to her, and to see guests say the same thing really does show, like I said, that we're on the right path with it. And I think when you do get a chance to come see it for the first time, you will agree.
Yeah, you mentioned about Dolly's reaction to it. She got a little emotional during the opening, especially when footage of her family was shown. So, how important was it for Dolly to be involved in the creation and the unveiling of this new attraction?
Well, her, like we always say, her name is on the park. Her name is on the experience. So it is important to include her and what she's looking for in everything that we're doing. But as you said, she admitted on the stage during the media event that her first time through, she was a little emotional. There was several areas, but one in particular where she heard audio of her mom and her dad speaking, and she, probably had not heard that interview in a number of years. So to hear that and to hear them, because her family is so influential in her life and such a big part of, why she has become who she is, that for her to be able to hear that again, I think that meant a lot to her. But there were things all through the exhibits that she felt close to, and that really did help her relive that herself. So if she felt that way about it, that certainly is why the guests, when they go through, are having the experience and just having that reaction that they're having.
So, going from the old, chasing rainbows and the whole Dolly Parton experience, lowercase, that you had before,
Yes.
to the new one, you mentioned that you kind of updated things with like newer technologies. Can you talk about what a guest would see as far as new technology is concerned that would help them become closer to Dolly?
Yes. So the Songteller experience is going to be the main experience area when you come into the Dolly Parton experience. So Songteller, you're going to see a lot of different things, but a lot of video, but updated video that probably has some things that our guests did not see with the old Chasing Rainbows Museum, some really old archival footage that some are going to see for the first time. But there's a really cool room where you'll go in, and there's a giant, it's about 18 feet tall, a guitar that is projection mapped, and it has 3 songs that will play. And what's cool about that area is it gives us an opportunity to do some new things with that down the road and highlight more songs. You can see on the wall there, those are song titles. So as those pop out, they'll be highlighted, and then there will be video of Dolly singing that song in concert. So there are songs here. This picture there is of Two Doors Down. And I think what some of our younger guests who know Dolly as the book lady from the Imagination Library, or know her from her current movie projects and, all the different things that you can buy at the store, the Duncan Hines cake mixes and things like that, they may not remember or know of her as this global icon and songwriter and singer. So some of these videos will show her in that. And, one of my coworkers said, wow, she's doing concerts just like Taylor Swift does now. And it's like, yes, Dolly, was selling out stadiums and doing all these things. And for a lot of folks now, they don't have that background. So to be able to showcase that to them is awesome. That room also has a number of her gold and platinum records on the wall. And then you go into the main Songteller experience, which is a 360-degree projection mapped, basically movie about 6 to 7 minutes long, about her path from Sevier County to where she is now, and kind of what she was feeling along the way, and how her family and the Smokies inspired her along the way. Then we also had Behind the Seams, which is in the old Dolly's closet, which has a number of pieces of wardrobe and costumes that she's worn through the years. And we really want to make sure there and in Songteller that we take care of preserving all of these pieces of wardrobe, because they are so special to Dolly, and Dolly's so special to the world. So we actually brought in the same company that the Smithsonian uses in a lot of their artifact cases, to create basically in each area there, each case has its own micro environment to make sure that the things on display there stay in pristine condition.
Dolly mentioned that the Precious Memories area is
Mhm.
particularly special for her. Can you give us more detail about what visitors can expect to see and experience in this part of the attraction?
Yes, as you mentioned, Precious Memories, that is probably the area where she had the most emotion as she was going through, because when you go into the lobby of Dream Song, where there's a new show, Heidi Parton, Ken and Friends, which Heidi and Dolly wrote together. So that's a great show to see. But as you go through the lobby to see that show, there is a wall of monitors there arranged that kind of look like you're looking through windows out onto a Smoky Mountain scene. And every few minutes, those windows start to change and they begin to tell a story about a very specific and important element in Dolly's life, whether that's her family, which again, she really enjoyed that movie, but some are the music that inspired her, how the Smokies inspired her. I think there's 7 videos in total that run for also about 6 to 7 minutes each, and they tell a very important part of Dolly's life and how she has made it to where she is now. So that experience, precious memories in the lobby of Dream Song, I think ties a lot of things that guests see from behind the scenes and Songteller, ties those together and really shows how they came to be from the beginning.
Yeah, so I mean, you mentioned Heidi Parton's Kid and Friends, and that
Yes.
seems like a really cool, like heartfelt addition. Can you just expand a little bit on what the show is all about and what a guest would experience while attending?
Well, we'll go all the way back to when Dollywood began. And part of the reason that Dolly wanted to have a theme park in the Smokies was, well, 2 reasons. She wanted to be able to have a reason for people to be employed in the Smokies, so to give people jobs. But she also wanted to have people come to the Smokies, see how beautiful it is. So part of Dollywood has always been that some of her relatives perform in shows at the park, and throughout the years, a number of her relatives have been employees, have been working in shows at Dollywood. So with Heidi has had a show for several years in Dream Song. But this year, with the Dolly Parton experience being added, they wanted to take that to a whole new level and completely rewrite the show. So Heidi and Dolly sat down and wrote the show together. There are some very poignant songs for them as a family. And we kind of joke around, but it's true. When Heidi and several other family members are on the stage laughing and having a good time during the show, you never know what kind of story they may tell about Dolly. So that's kind of fun, just to be able to go in and experience that and really hear from somebody in the family what it's like growing up or being around Dolly as she has had this amazing career. But entertainment is a key piece of what we do at Dollywood. It's, Dolly's name is on the park. So Dolly being the global icon that she is, we want to make sure that entertainment is a top priority. So this show highlights that. We've spent an extra $1 million this year just to increase the tech within our theaters. And we've booked to make sure that every theater has a performing act in it all season long. So there will be no dark theaters, which again is very important to us. And we've had quite a bit of rain this year. I don't know about you guys, but we've had a lot of rain in the Smokies. So it's nice to have all of that entertainment so that when folks are coming to the park, if it's raining and there's a little bit of lightning and you can't get on the rides, we've got great shows that you can go see all at the same time.
Let's talk a little bit more about the behind the scenes exhibit showcasing Dolly's iconic wardrobes using those preservation techniques from the Smithsonian. Now, is this something that, if you experience the Dolly Parton experience, say in early June, and you come back in August or September, you might see some different pieces of wardrobe on display? Is that going to be something that's interchangeable?
Yes, it is. So we will be able to interchange throughout the year. We're not really sure what timeline that will be on. I have heard that probably around Christmas time, we'll be able to bring some things in. We know that a lot of people will be coming to experience the area for the first time during the summer and into harvest. So we want to make sure that it's everything that's there right now will be able to be there for them to see. But we will look at what that rotation looks like and how often we'll be changing things in and out. And we'll be sure to let folks know, as you would expect, what items that we'll be bringing in for folks to see. But right now, I know items in there for right now. We have a lot of Dollywood themed pieces, so things that Dolly wore while she has been at the park, either doing ride announcements or ride openings or different events there in the park. But there are also some things that folks will see either from the Rockstar album, which is brand new. So it's really cool to have some of her current things in the exhibit. There's an older piece from her Great Balls of Fire album. And then there's also an area that is dedicated to Steve Summers, who is Dolly's creative director, and everything that he does to create each piece of her iconic wardrobe. So really interesting look into behind the seams, what it takes to make Dolly look like Dolly.
Yeah. Well, Dolly's made no qualms about how making Dolly look like Dolly is not the
Yes.
easiest thing in the world to do. But so let's pedal back to the song teller exhibit.
Yes.
So that's the one with the 360-degree projection mapping and so
Correct.
on, right?
Correct.
So I'm a total nerd. I don't know much about stuff, but I like looking at stuff. So that's particularly intriguing to me. So can you tell us a little bit more about the actual, like dive a little bit further into the actual video that's in there and how it explains Dolly's, let's say, journey from Sevier County to, I guess she's still in Sevier County. So we always say like where she is now, but it's kind of gone through a loop just in a really, really positive way.
Yeah, exactly. So, it's really, as you would expect with Dolly, it's interspersed with some of her most famous music along the way. So you'll hear Jolene, you'll hear I Will Always Love You. But you stand and all four walls kind of come to life. And as you're standing, she starts talking about the Smokies and her family and a cabin that looks very similar to the one that she grew up in appears. And then she starts to tell the story in her own words of boarding the bus to Nashville the day after her high school graduation and what that was like. And then as you're there, she also talks about her grandfather, who was a preacher. So as you're standing there, it kind of looks like a church and you're inside the church. And then that church turns into the Ryman, which is basically the church of country music. So you have that transformation that kind of details that step in her life. And then she starts talking about being in Nashville and everything that went into working along the way. So the smaller concerts and playing in all the different venues in Nashville. And you kind of see scenes from Broadway in Nashville and kind of what she experienced there. And then it kind of opens up into her as this global phenomenon and everything that she was doing around the world. Several times it's like you're at a concert of hers and you kind of see silhouettes of a crowd kind of all the way around, and you really do spend a lot of time during it turning around and looking, because different things, song lyrics, pictures are coming up on all four walls all around you. So you really do kind of follow along and turn with that experience. So it really is immersive. There are moments where you do feel like you're in the middle of, like I said, the Ryman or a concert or back in the hills of Sevier County outside of the Tennessee mountain home where she grew up. And I think for a lot of people and for Dolly as well, that's moving experience, because you're able to kind of go along on that journey. We did have during one of our sneak peek days for our Diamond Pass holders, we have a country music singer who's a Diamond Pass holder who is also a member of the Opry. And he was there just as a guest and relayed to one of the folks on our team that when the scene of the Ryman pops up, that he was emotional because it really did make him feel like he was there on the stage of the Grand Ole Opry. So to be able to get that kind of feedback, I think is very special too, because it means that what we're doing is working and it really is bringing people into Dolly's story.
Yeah, Wes, Dolly's Home on Wheels has been a popular attraction for years. How has it been integrated into the Dolly Parton experience?
Well, that is actually one of our most popular attractions. And believe it or not, even though it's it's a motor coach, so it's not a large experience and you can't really fit a lot of people in that. But every year it sees between 300 and 400,000 visitors go through it alone every single year. So we knew it was something that had to remain part of the Dolly Parton experience. So we created a brand new space for it. with a larger queue line, and it'll be next to behind the scenes. So if you haven't been to the park yet to see the Dolly Parton experience, but you're aware of the area where Dolly's closet used to be, is now behind the scenes. And then you walk over toward Jukebox Junction and the Pines Theater. The bus is now kind of situated between the two of those, but it is still the same walkthrough experience. You can get a photo there, just to allow folks to see, kind of behind the scenes of what it's like to be on the road with Dolly. And then we obviously have the other tour bus over at Dreammore for folks who want to be able to stay on that. And all the proceeds from that, of course, go to the Imagination Library through the Dollywood Foundation. So cool opportunities there that you're not going to find anywhere else, is the opportunity to either walk through a motor coach at Dollywood or to actually stay on a motor coach over at Dreammore Resort.
Well, I would say I didn't know you could stay at the one at Dreammore, so I learned something here. I've learned that amongst a bunch of stuff about the new Dolly Parton experience. I've learned that because I've stayed at Dreammore and I saw it and I was like, there's no way she parks her bus and chooses for touring here. Okay.
She did. So she actually did. So when she would come see us, that is where she would park the tour bus. So she would stay on it there. And then as she decided, you know what, I'm going to give the tour bus to Dollywood and I'm going to stay in the Dolly Parton suite when I'm staying at Dreammore. That gave us an opportunity to be able to offer that experience to folks. So you can go online and reserve it. Now, I will say, as I mentioned before, all the proceeds go to the Imagination Library. So it is $10,000 for a 2-night stay, but it is a very special experience for folks who really do love Dolly. And then, of course, taking all of the proceeds from that to go to support the Imagination Library and giving books to kids around the world is important to us as well.
Okay. So let's say that you have like $10,000 to stay in Dolly's RV, but you want to buy some like exclusive stuff from the new shop.
Yes.
That's in the Dolly Parton experience. Can you talk about some of the new items?
Yeah. So, there's a lot of fun items in there, a lot of shirts, as you would expect, shirts and hats. One really cool thing that you'll find in there is a neon signature, Dolly's signature in neon that she has used during shows and different things throughout the years on album covers. So that was really a hot commodity during opening weekend. I do think we have some of those still left, but they thought that one would go very quickly. And then exclusive items there that you're only going to be able to find in the fan shop are those items, especially the ones with the Dolly Parton Experience logos on it. But then you'll also find a wide range of Dolly items, including the different books and some CDs and just different things that we know folks are going to love when it comes to Dolly, because nobody can get enough of Dolly Parton, that's for sure.
Heavy dose of Dolly.
That's right.
Yeah, well, the Dolly Parton Experience now open at Dollywood, but switching gears, the Flower and Food Festival has become quite the tradition there. It's still there's still time for guests to visit Dollywood to experience it before it ends. Talk about that event.
Yeah, so the Flower and Food Festival, it will end on June 9th, so we'll say that first, but it has really done a lot for us when it comes to this time of year. We were always looking for something that really did highlight the beauty of the Smokies during the spring. I think we have always done a great job of that, especially at harvest and at Christmas time. But a few years ago, we added this festival, and our landscaping team does an amazing job. We work with a company called Mosaic Cultures out of Canada. They are the ones that create these amazing floral sculptures. This is, of course, Dolly's mom quilting together the coat of many colors, but you'll see more than 15 different icons throughout the park, which do really highlight the beauty of spring and the Smokies. But food is also right there in the name of this festival. So we've got the tasting pass, so folks can be able to go and sample all the different great items throughout the park. You and I were able to sample the great food from Dolly's cookbook the other day during, oh yeah, there you go. So you can't, now I'm sidetracked. All these great items. Yeah, I'm hungry now. It's just a great time of year for our chefs to really be able to take advantage of, spring in the Smokies and a lot of the crops that you would find coming in this time of year and integrating those. They try to locally source a lot of items and then look to the Smokies and the heritage of this area for the inspiration for a number of the items that they make. But you can't go wrong with the food at Dollywood. It's hard sometimes walking by some of the food locations and your stomach starts rumbling and you're like, I can't eat again. I just ate a few minutes ago. So it makes it hard sometimes.
Yeah, I look at it as I come there for the shows and the rides, but I stay for the food.
That's why I'm still employed there. I stay for the food.
Yeah, that's what keeps the job going there.
That's right.
So in addition to Dollywood, there's also 2 resorts. There's Dreammore and there's Hearthsong. What do they do as part of the participating in like the flower and food festival?
So, we have a lot of entertainment. So we'll bring some of the folks that may be performing at the Flower and Food Festival. We'll bring them over to the resort properties and they'll kind of mill around the properties and play, or they may, set up in the lobby and play a short show. So we have that. And then the chefs at each resort look to the Dollywood chefs and look at the inspiration for their menus and try and incorporate that on their own at each resort. And then, of course, just the decorations that go throughout the park with or through the resorts with the floral arrangements that you'll see throughout. And we're always looking to be able to do that for every festival. You'll see that during Harvest and Christmas, just trying to bring that to make it a seamless experience. So if you're staying at one of the resorts, you hop on the trolley, go over to Dollywood. It's kind of like the entire festival moves with you and you really are immersed in that from beginning to end. And then we also have Dollywood Splash Country Water Park with the summer celebration that's about to start here pretty soon. We'll integrate that into the park there. We'll have a lot of music for guests on the wave pool deck and some decorations throughout the water park for them to enjoy summer as well.
Yeah, Wes, looking ahead, the Sweet Summer Nights drone and fireworks show is returning. What makes this show a must-see for families visiting Dollywood this summer?
Well, we were, the first park to have a drone show nightly, and we're very proud of that. We worked with Intel the very first year to bring it, and they produced the show using their drones. We work with someone else now. Intel just builds the drones. They got out of the business of actually producing the shows, but it was a very amazing experience. The first time you saw the Dollywood butterfly in the sky over the park, you could hear the oohs and the ahs. And it's just one of those things that awe-inspiring seems big for what this is, but it really is really cool to see those drones up in the sky. And we try to have a fun summer playlist. We do a dance party for folks to really get them excited at the end of every night before the drone show and just to let them leave with a very positive note from their evening. We're always trying to make those memories for families as a collective group. And that's one of those things that we're able to do, have them out dancing together as a family and just laughing and having a great time. And it's capped off with the drones and the fireworks every evening. And the drone show has grown too. The very first year that we did the drone show, we were not actually able to have all of the drones because Intel was using half of their drones for the opening ceremonies of the Olympics a few years ago. So we did not get to have all of the drones. It was still an impressive show, but now that we're not competing with the opening ceremonies of the Olympics, we have a full display, and it really does make the images appear more 3D. They're more vibrant and they kind of move around in the sky a little bit more when you have a few more drones. But it was kind of cool that first year to say that, well, we didn't get all the drones because the opening ceremonies of the Olympics had to have the other group of drones.
Yeah, Dollywood was the first drone show that I saw, and like I said, kind of a nerd, so I was more interested in like, how is this going to work rather than like, what am I going to watch? But it was, I remember texting Don because he was with Kings Island at the time. And I was like, you guys are getting drones soon. You gotta, either that or Dollywood's going to buy you because
and I will tell you,
is perfect.
The one thing you're talking about kind of being a nerd for those things. The one thing that I learned from that really just impressed me with the technology is that you've got all these drones and they're all controlled by a single computer. And it's, each drone is communicating to that computer multiple times each second. And I asked the programmer that very first year from Intel, I said, so each drone will fly the same route every night? And he said, no, the chances of that happening are very rare, because as that computer is in communication with each drone, it's monitoring wind speed, it's monitoring battery condition, everything about that drone. And if it says, okay, this drone's battery is a little bit lower than this drone, it may send the one that has more battery a further distance, where the battery that has less, or the drone that has less battery, will go the shorter distance. And the night before, that may have been backward. So he said the chances of a drone flying the exact same show at any point during the summer is very slim. And that just amazed me, that that computer is talking to all those drones and making those minute changes every second. So it just, the technology behind that is impressive.
It's kind of changed the dynamic now of nighttime shows with drones, because you can't just do a regular fireworks show now, because it just wouldn't seem the same.
No, you're exactly right. And we're always looking at what we can do to change that show up a little bit. So there will be some new scenes during that this year. We had a drone show during Christmas last year, which was a fun addition there to the Christmas experience. But we're always looking at different ways that we can change that drone show up and keep it fresh. Last year during CoasterCon, on the opening night, after the opening ceremonies, we had our drone show, and we actually put the CoasterCon 45 logo up in the drone show. So what they're able to do with that technology is really impressive. And like you say, you have the fireworks show, but it does almost seem like, hey, we need the drones to be a part of this as well now.
Yeah, I remember the first time that I saw Kings Island's drone show when they added it in 2022. And the reaction to it, I told Don, I was like, I hope you like drones, because you're stuck with them.
Yeah, yeah.
Because you're not going to be able to not do them ever again.
Yeah, you're
so
really
let me
right.
ask you this. So from a spectator standpoint, though, where's the best place to watch the drone show at Dollywood?
The best place to go is in Wildwood Grove. So that is where the show is designed to be seen. So if you have a viewpoint there looking at the drones, they're going to be lined up exactly as they should be for what we're looking for you to be able to see and experience. So the best place I have found is anywhere from Till and Harvest over toward the Wildwood Tree at Black Bear Trail. That's a great area to see it. But I'll tell you, I've watched it down on Show Street as well. The pictures sometimes are a little bit distorted, because you're basically, I would say, at a 45 degree or 45 to 60 degree angle from where the drone's optimal viewing position would be. But you can still make out what the pictures are, and you can still hear that audio. So for a lot of folks, me included, sometimes if you go down on that side of the park, there's less crowd. And you can still see the drone show, you still see the fireworks, and you can still see or hear the music. So might not be quite the same, but it really is still a great experience, even on that side of the park as well.
Yeah, I found Black Bear Trail right by
Yes.
that to be the spot that I like watching it.
Yep, yeah, you're right. Those are the optimal viewing locations there in Wildwood Grove. But like I said, there are some other places to see it and really be able to experience it.
So Wes, we'd be remiss if we didn't bring up the changes to Lightning Rod.
Yes.
So we're a couple months into, the opening of Lightning Rod now,
Yes.
replacing the launch lift hill with a more traditional chain lift, but high-speed chain lift hill.
Yes.
Has the reliability been kind of in line with what you guys expected? Has the outcome been what you wanted?
Yes, it has, and we are very excited about that. It is I don't have the exact number right now for uptime, but it has to be over, I would say, 96% for sure. It's running well, and I rode it. I as soon as I could get on it, I rode it, and I will tell you, yeah, you're not being launched up the lift hill, but there's almost something about it as you're going up, and the lift hill, it's still a pretty good pace. It's about 13 miles an hour. Obviously not the same as the launch, but for me, it kind of heightened my senses. I didn't really, I guess, realize how tall Lightning Rod was, because when you're launching up it so quick, you're so focused on that you really forget to kind of look around sometimes. So now you have more time to do that. So for me, it kind of heightened the anticipation getting to the top of the lift. And then as soon as you clear the lift hill, it is the same lightning rod. I've heard a lot of people say that they actually think it's smoother and much more enjoyable now. But I'll tell you, it's still the same great lightning rod. So I think we were all very pleased with that. And to hear the reviews as guests get off it and they say that same thing is awesome to hear. We wanted to make sure that the ride experience stayed as it was because it is such a great experience. But we wanted to be able to give that reliability because we would have guests, coming from long distances. And if lightning rod was down, you hated to have to be the one to tell a guest, I'm sorry, but lightning rod isn't working. And, they might have to leave and not be able to ride the ride. And for us to have that attraction there and not to be able to give it to our guests was not a great feeling because you hear such great things about it and then they're there and they're disappointed because that was one of the highlights that they were looking forward to. So now to know that the ride is operating all the time and is as good as it always was is really, I think, a relief for us, but exciting for us because now we know. I think based on the numbers from last year's uptime compared to what we look at this year's uptime being, I think we'll be able to give 1 million extra rides this year to guests on Lightning Rod. And I think that says everything it needs to.
Yeah, Wes, I've ridden it several times this year, and I can attest that,
Yep.
It is the exact same ride from the time you get to the top of the lift. You still go up at a pretty good pace.
Yeah.
But I will say, it's much more comfortable with the ride experience.
Yes.
What you've done with the trains and that. It's more re-rideable for me. I used to be one and done, with it because it was a little herky jerky for me. So I would go ride some of the other rides after I got my one in each time. But when I was there, it was April 29th when I was riding it multiple times that day. I just couldn't get enough of it. It was just running that good. It was just so much fun. And several people, that were getting off the train with, the group that I was in, they were commenting about how much more enjoyable it was.
Yes.
So everything you guys have done with it, it was the right move. And, if anything, the ride's better than it ever was.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And that's what we're hearing. And again, that's why we did it. We wanted to be able to give our guests that opportunity to ride the ride because it is something that they've heard about, that they know from others, that it's a really fun experience. And like you said, I think it is more re-rideable, and we're hearing that as well. And it's up all the time. So you can't go wrong with that.
No, and that's not the only ride. In recent years, you've done a lot of work on Thunderhead as well.
Yes.
That's running fantastic. And that was
is.
always one of my favorite wooden coasters. And, another ride that I just can't get enough of when I'm at Dollywood.
Yeah, you're right. And that ride, we actually, so I have an 8-year-old and a 6-year-old, and the 6-year-old, he is now tall enough to ride Thunderhead. So we rode it earlier this year, but we actually went on Monday afternoon on Memorial Day, and we were able to ride Thunderhead, and the look on their faces says it all. But to your point, it is much smoother, much more re-rideable. I think exactly like it was when it was first built. And that ride, I mean, I get off that ride every time and I'm like, what just happened to me? I just can't get enough of that ride. And, our kids love it. So I think I'm excited about the fact that they are loving roller coasters too, because I think it was going to be something if their dad worked at Dollywood and they didn't like roller coasters. So as soon as they could get on them, they've been on them and they love them to death. So Thunderhead, I think, is, at least for our 6-year-old, I think that's his new favorite.
Awesome. So one of the things that I enjoy when I'm down in the Pigeon Forge, Gatlinburg area, outside of Dollywood, which is usually the star of the show for probably a lot of our audience, but I really enjoy like the various dinner theater stuff.
Yes.
The dinner theater shows that they have along the Pigeon Forge Parkway. Can you talk about some of those and if there's anything new this year or what to expect? Because I know that the Dollywood company is tied up in several of them.
Yes. So we're a partner in Stampede, Pirates Voyage, and the Hatfield and McCoy, and the Comedy Barn. And they're great shows, great food. If you've not been to one, I think a lot of people are always surprised at how great the food is. I think they have an expectation going in as to what they think the food is going to be. And when they leave, they're blown away first by the food, but then the shows at each of those theaters is just amazing. Stampede, obviously the number one attraction that we've had as part of that dinner show group for so many years and kind of started that trend. They have a new scene in that show this year, which just opened with that new scene a couple of weeks ago. I have a lot of people talking about that, and just the beauty of it involves butterflies and just in being there in the arena. But Pirates Voyage, we added that a few years ago to the area, and it has been mentioned as a favorite for a lot of folks. So popular that it started in Myrtle Beach. We have it in Pigeon Forge. We're getting ready to build one in Panama City Beach. So that will be completed next year. So that is growing. That brand is growing. And then Hatfield and McCoy and Comedy Barn, which have been two shows in the area for a number of years and have really been traditions for folks when they come. But, like I said, each one, there's something fun and unique about each one. The food is great at all of them. So I don't think you can go wrong with any of the dinner shows when you come to town. It's a great way to really give you something to do in the evening. Not that there's not more than enough to do in Pigeon Forge, but they are great experiences when you come to the area, just to be able to enjoy an evening together with a great meal and just a phenomenal show as you're doing other things out in Pigeon Forge after, of course, you've spent your day at Dollywood.
Of course.
So, Wes, before we wrap up, we got to talk about my favorite attraction at Dollywood, the Dollywood Express.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So, kind of describe this attraction, why it's a must-do for guests when at Dollywood.
Well, I think for a lot of people, I think it kind of surprises them. Not in terms of ridership, because our roller coasters are able to do more riders per hour, obviously, but it's probably the most popular attraction in the park because everybody can do it. If you don't like roller coasters, if you're too short for a roller coaster, if you are, you just don't want to ride them, the Dollywood Express is something everybody can do. Everybody loves it. It's very picturesque as it goes across the park, and you're able to see kind of a different viewpoint on Show Street and Timber Canyon. And then you get up to the train loop and you're kind of surrounded really by the Smoky Mountains, and just you can look off over toward Great Smoky Mountains National Park and then come back down and you get a great view of Wild Eagle and then back down into Wildwood Grove. It's just a really fun experience. And, it was down for a couple of weeks. We had some things that the maintenance crew were doing to make sure that everything worked as it should, so that when guests are riding it, it's a consistent experience. So I think we've been able to take care of that. So it's operational, and I heard it blowing its whistle just yesterday.
I make sure I ride it every time I'm there. Now, it wasn't running on April 29th, and I understood, that
Yep.
There was some work being done on it, but
Well,
to me, if it's running, I have to ride it, and sometimes more than once or twice. And my most recent visit over Memorial Day weekend was able to notch my 50th lifetime ride on it.
hey, wow. See, that's awesome. And, it really does go back to, and I think one of the things we remind folks about the Dollywood Express, there are two trains that we use as the Dollywood Express, Klondike Katy and Cinderella. And one thing that our team does an amazing job of is keeping those engines running, because it's not like you can go to Napa Auto Parts and just grab something off the shelf and bring it back to Dollywood and put it on the train and it's ready to go again. So it's a lot of hard work, a lot of manual labor, obviously, to operate them, but to maintain them and keep them going. So that team really does need a pat on the back every time you see them, and tell them that you appreciate what they do to keep it running, because those are really classics, and the fact that they're able to keep them maintained to a point where we're able to give so many guests that experience every single day is really special. And they do it because they love it, and they love hearing stories from folks like you and seeing the smiles of people as they ride. So if you see that crew when they're in the park, be sure to thank them for what they do to keep it running.
That's all. Yeah, I love the Dollywood Express too. It's like, I guess they're kind of a dying breed for having full-size trains at theme parks, but
Yep.
That one is particularly special with the smell of the coal burning and
Yes.
so on. You got to be there. You really just implanted that into my head when you were describing it. But so it's been a year now. Let's talk about the ultimate call for the opening season of Big Bear Mountain. Did that coaster accomplish what you guys were trying to do? And has the feedback continued to be positive since the last time we spoke?
It certainly has. And, it's won several awards over the past year for the best new attraction of the year. And that's special to us. We were looking for an attraction that the family can do together. I think we talked about that the last time I was on here. We're looking, always trying to find those attractions that allow the entire family to take part in it together. And with the 39-inch height requirement, Big Bear Mountain does that. But not only does it allow younger kids to be able to ride, it's thrilling for adults as well. And I think that's what is so special about that ride. It's a long ride experience. It's our longest ride, and it was our first with onboard audio. So I think there are elements there that for us are unique and new, that we were able to provide our guests. But it really is two ride experiences. The first half of the ride, you've got a lot of long sweeping turns, and you come back to the second half of the track and you're pulling a few more G's. The elements happen quicker in succession. And to me, it really does feel like two rides. But the best thing is when you get off, you're like, okay, I can go do that again. It's very re-rideable, very smooth. And Vekoma really did do an amazing job on that ride. And guests have been saying that. There are a lot of kids that we see and that we hear from that tell us this is the first big roller coaster that I was able to ride. And that's what we're trying to do. That's why you have Dragonflyer, you have Fire Chaser Express, and now Big Bear Mountain, so that kids, even around 3 to 4 years old, are able to ride those rides with their parents and have that memory, so that years from now, when someone says, well, where did you ride your first roller coaster? They're going to be able to say it was Big Bear Mountain at Dollywood. And that's why we do what we do. But very proud of that ride and what Vekoma was able to bring to us, because it is a very fun attraction.
Yeah, what I liked about it, is the re-rideability of it. You get off the ride, you want to get right back in line and ride again. But also, as someone that enjoys taking photos at parks, there's a lot of really great photo opportunities around the ride.
Yeah, the theming on that ride is top notch. They did a lot of work in making sure that from the beginning to the end that you have that immersion, that you really do feel like you're going out to search for Big Bear. And then the audio obviously ties that in, but there are little Easter eggs all along the way that tie back to different things within Wildwood Grove, and just the story that continues to be told there.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, the Q theming was done by our friends at 3DX that were on the show last week, ironically.
Yep. Yeah, and it's just an awesome experience, start to finish. And theming, does so much for an attraction. And I think that's why, we've been so lucky with our rides, and especially Big Bear Mountain, because it does pull you into it a little bit more. And it's just fun. It's just so fun to hear Ned talking to you all along the way. I love that ride, and I know so many of our guests have as well.
All right. So Wes, just to kind of like wrap things up, where can we find more information on Dollywood? Is tickets and everything like that, as well as the dinner theater? We discussed a lot today.
We did talk about a lot.
Booking Dolly's tour bus, if you got the 10 grand for the charitable foundation and stuff. Where can we find all that information?
They keep it easy for me. It's just Dollywood.com, or download the Dollywood app. And the app, we have taken a lot of effort with the new Dolly Parton experience to be able to put some content on there that you won't see in the museum, but you're able to scan QR codes along the way and be able to take that content with you to watch that a little bit later during your stay at the park, because there are things, there's so much in that area that we wanted to be able to give folks some other things to learn more about Dolly, and that certainly does it. So download the app, call 1-800-Dollywood, or go to Dollywood.com, and we'll take care of you.
Well, Wes, on a future visit for me, you have to ride the Dollywood Express with me.
You let me know when. I'm ready.
All right.
Perfect. Cool. Hey, Wes, thanks for being on the show for your sequel. Wes Ramey, Back to the Future Part 2.
All right. We'll see if there's a Part 3 in the future.
That's the one when we go back to 1885. It'll be really interesting and very related to Dollywood in a lot of ways. But hey, everyone stick around for the Pick 6 coming up next.